right, guys, we made it back. It's the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast, and today we talk about real estate again. We've got a couple guys here out of the San Antonio area that have made a bold statement in the real estate world: stop flipping. Some of us think about it, but they do it. And we're going to dig into notes and owner financing. Today we've got Collin on the show. Thanks, Collin.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. So let's dig into how long you've been in the real estate, why you got in the real estate, and why you're telling people to stop flipping.
Well, that's a lot of questions, but I will answer them as best I can. So how long have I been in real estate? It's probably been about, I'm going to say 2.5, 3 years now, doing actually real estate investing. I've been very interested in it for a long time, but I guess the best way, like how I got into it and why we stopped flipping and all that stuff, I kind of have to back up a little bit, kind of tell you a little bit about my story. I actually started my adult life as a teacher. I was a middle school band director, matter of fact. I don't look like a middle school band director. I don't act like a middle school band director, but I was for 5 years. And during that 5 years, I started reading, just trying to figure out money. Teachers don't get paid a whole lot. I'm trying to figure the whole thing out. One thing leads to another, and I ended up with Rich Dad, Poor Dad in my hand, and that led to. And then what I really gravitated towards was like, man, I need to learn a lot more about money. While I was teaching, I became a financial advisor. To this day, I still hold my Series 6, 63, 26, all my licenses along those lines, because I really wanted to learn how money worked. And I left teaching in June of 2008.
Yep.
And I don't know how well you know your financial history, but in September of 2008, we had a little bit of a stock market issue.
And a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it just about bankrupted me. I mean, I blew through every bit of savings, everything I had, and had to go back to waiting tables just to make ends meet. And then I got a job in marketing, which it was a great job, don't get me wrong, but just sitting behind a desk all day long wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And then I got a job in sales. Worked my way up, became, an international sales trainer, training people all over the world, or all over North America, rather, how to sell. And that's when I met Eric Sangerhausen. Now, unfortunately, Eric isn't here with us today, so I can talk as much trash as I'd like about him, but I'm going to tell the true story. So Eric and I went to high school together, and we ran in completely different circles. I played football, and I was in band. He was a basketball guy. Like, we knew each other, but we just never really hung out.
Yeah.
And it turns out that we ended up living about 3-4 miles apart from each other at this time. I'm guessing it's 2015, maybe, I guess 2014. And I went to this little taco joint. We lived in McQueenie, Texas. Go look it up. I mean, it's a little dot on a map in the middle of nowhere. And I went to go buy tacos, and I saw this card. And real estate's always been in the back of my mind. And on the stand on the little taco joint, it said, Eric Sangerhausen, Alien Realty, let Roz buy your house or make your house disappear or abduct your house. I don't know, some corny little line that he had going
That's
on.
awesome.
And I saw that. I mean, Eric Sangerhausen. How many Eric Sangerhausens do you know? I know one, right? Yeah. And I'm like, so I pick up the phone and I call him. I'm like, Eric, man, hey, how you going? Long time no talk. I've always wanted to get into real estate. I see you're doing something. Do you mind if we talk about it? And the dude just totally blew me off. He's like, yeah, no. And I was like, all right. And I went home, told my wife, and we talked about it. And, and I'm going to say about 6 months later, he actually came out with the book, Stop Flipping, Stop Renting, Owner Finance Your Way to Financial Freedom. And so now, like in that small town, I mean, he's in the newspaper, he's on the Facebook. I mean, he just gets blown up because not many people in our small town of Seguin, Texas, where we grew up, write books. And so he got blown up. And then all of a sudden I see it all over Facebook. And I was like, and I remember sometimes you just make up your mind. I'm like, that's it. Eric's going to be my friend. Yeah. And we're going to figure this out. So I bought a copy of his book off Amazon, and I called him again because I still had his number. And I said, hey, I'm coming over. I need you to autograph this book, and we need to talk. And he's like, yeah, sure. And so as I'm driving out there, and he lives, you got to look all this stuff up, because if you're on Google Maps, he lives on a little island called Treasure Island, which is on Lake McQueenie, which is like the premier real estate in the area. And he lives on an island in the middle of this lake. And I'm driving out there because he's like, yeah, come by the house, man. Not a problem. I'll sign it for you. I'd love to. He just, his total demeanor changed. I drive out there and I roll up on his house, and this dude owns 6 lots on Lake McQuenie that he's got fenced off. He's got a basketball court, a volleyball court. He's driving a $90,000 truck that's jacked up, all this kind of stuff. There's a boat in the driveway, a seat, just like I'm driving up. And I remember I'm thinking to myself, and I mean, I was doing pretty well, but I remember thinking, Eric wasn't exactly valedictorian.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a smart guy, obviously, but he wasn't, the best. I'm like, what is going on? What does he know that I don't know? I knock on the door. He answers it. And he's in like a a sleeveless tank top and swim trunks. I'm like, that's the Eric I remember. And we get to talking for a little bit. And he explains to me the whole owner finance model. And I was always really scared to get into real estate. But once he explained what he was doing and how he was doing, all the scary parts of all the typical real estate investing kind of just vanished with this owner finance model. I was like, man, this is something I could get behind. And he goes, you know what? We've really been wanting to teach this and get the word out. And that's where I came in. So with a background in sales and a background in education, I was like, I can help you sell this and I can help you teach this because people really do need to know how this works and how to do this. Yep. And so that's kind of how we got started. And that was about 3 years ago. And one thing led to another. I've been doing this for a while and owner financing my properties, and life's changed a lot.
That's awesome, man.
Sorry, that was a long way to answer your question, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect. I got things flying around in my brain right now. You brought up being scared of being into it. And that's why I named my podcast what it is, The Fearless Pursuit of Freedom, because there's so many fears in life in general, but especially when you think about real estate and owner financing. To me, isn't as fearful as it used to be. I understand it now. I haven't done one, but I understand it. But the notes really scare me. I understand them, but I don't know where to find note buyers. I mean, there's a plethora of issues that go along with that, but that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's been a great ride. I mean, we've had a lot of fun. You obviously can tell we have a lot of fun doing it, and just all day, every day, just get up. Matter of fact, I was telling you earlier, we've got a lunch and learn today. I just put it on Facebook. I said, Eric, what are you doing? I said, nothing. He had to go meet with some contractors. We got a build that we're working on. And I said, hey, 11:30, let's meet at Top Golf. And I just blew up Facebook right now. I'm paying all these boost ads. And I was like, hey, anybody wants to talk real estate, we're going to Top Golf at 11:30. Meet us out there. So we just have a lot of fun teaching. And
that's awesome.
So,
all right. So let's rewind a smidge and let's tell people what owner financing is and what notes are in, I guess, layman terms, without going into the full, 30-day course of learning it. Because it takes a lot to learn. Yeah.
Layman's terms is whenever you go to sell a house traditionally, you have to borrow the money from a bank. So you go to buy a $200,000 house, you have to go to the bank. They said, well, you know what? I know the house is worth $200,000. We're only going to give you $180,000. And you borrow the money from the bank. There is a financial transaction. They put money, they send it over to the title company, right? And you buy the house that way. Now you owe the bank money.
Yep.
And you make a promise to pay that bank back. It's called a promissory note, right? So that's what it is. So what we do is we don't actually transfer any money. We buy houses, we rehab the houses, and then we sell them direct to the consumer where they make payments to us. So in layman's terms, we finance the house out to people and they make the payments to us. So that's as cut and dry as we can make it.
Yeah. You're the bank at that point.
We're the bank at that point. But a lot of people get really confused because they're used to having a transfer of money, but there is no transfer of money. And that changes the game a lot. And that's where the paperwork and all the changes come in. But there is no transfer of money. We just happen to own the house.
Yeah. And then once they're owner finance, at that point, you sell portions, multiples, or the whole note to note investors?
Right. So like I said earlier, we made a promise to the bank when we bought our house, right? We will pay you back. So these people have to sign something called a promissory note to us. That's one of there's about 3 main pieces of paperwork you have to do. And the promissory note is a big one.
Yep.
And so we have this promissory note. So our houses aren't really 200. Let's say we have a $100,000 house and we have a promissory note for 90. We ask them to put $10,000 down. We have a promissory note for 90. So we can do one of 2 things is what we do with them, or 3, I guess, technically. But we do go look for people and we say, hey, would you like to buy this note from us? And it's the exact same thing that banks do.
Yep.
If you've ever bought a house, you know what I'm talking about. You go through all this paperwork and you got these people they want to see your checking account and your blood type and they want your birth certificate and whatever it is. And so they go through all this stuff and then as soon as you buy the house, like a week later, they go, hey, by the way, Wells Fargo, you thought you were working with Wells Fargo. A week later, all of a sudden you're like, by the way, you need to make your payments to Chase or whatever, because Chase bought that note. They said, we want that asset because it's a note, it's a performing note.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do is we turn around and sell them to investors, people that don't want to deal with the real estate. They just want to get the return.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And then you do what's called seasoning, I assume. Do you do it 6 months, 12 months?
No, and
No
that's
seasoning?
no, that's
Oh
see,
boy,
that look on your face right there
that's
is what really
interesting.
changes because I'm going to blow your mind right now.
Okay.
We don't see. I mean, technically we do, but it's usually just a couple of months, like
Yeah.
2, 3. Some of our notes are pre-sold, like they're sold before we ever close them.
Hmm.
And what's really going to blow your mind, if you know anything about note investing, is we sell our notes at face value. We do not discount our notes at all.
Really?
So if we have a $90,000 note, we're going to sell it at $90,000.
Wow.
And it has a lot to do with how we create the note.
Hmm.
Our notes are very, very strong. I actually did some research the other day because my wife and I were talking about something, and I might get these numbers wrong, so please don't hold them to me. I can't remember exactly. But our default rate is less than 4%.
Hmm.
That's why we're able to hold those up. So the Fannie Mae, I'm gonna say this wrong, but I think the Fannie Mae default rate is 3.4%, and I think we're at 3.56%.
Yeah.
So our default rate is right in line with federal standards,
Hmm.
and we have very low default. And
Yeah.
so because of that, we're able to tell people, no, you're going to pay full price for this. We're not going to discount it because there's a lot less risk with us.
Yeah. In the situation where one of the homeowners does default, who who do you within your business have do the note service? Well, not the note servicing, but who goes in and corrects the situation as far as who's going to go foreclose, who's going to get the note performing again?
So yeah, good questions all, and it's a little bit of a technical part of our business. So all of the notes we sell, we do service.
Okay.
We've got an office, we've got a bunch of
Nice.
ladies and gentlemen that work in our office. We've got salespeople, so we've got kind of an infrastructure built up now. But
Yeah.
we do, it was 118 houses I think last year, so we do quite a few, and we're servicing hundreds of notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so whenever you do foreclose, the nice thing is in Texas is we're a non-judicial foreclosure state. I
Mhm.
don't know if you knew that, and not every state is, but we don't have to go to court. We just start filing paperwork,
Yeah.
and so we can foreclose on them pretty. And just like being a landlord, just like anything else, we're no nonsense.
Yeah.
Very seldom do we have to foreclose. We usually end up getting deeds in lieu of foreclosure. Like a lot of people just say, "Hey, you know what? Sorry, keep it off our record," and they just give us the keys.
Yep.
But yes, we do have people that go by, and if we got to knock on the door, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Eric, sometimes it's we've got a lot of other guys that'll go around and do it. So, but
Yeah.
we try really hard to work with them. Our goal, and we really are the good guys. We try really hard not to foreclose. Like that is not our ultimate goal. We want them to stay in the house. They
Yeah.
put a substantial down payment, and the way that we structure all of our loans, I mean, there's no prepayment penalties, there's no balloon payments, there's no adjustable rates. I mean, we are really straightforward, and we want these people to stay in the house because it keeps our note buyers happy. And we don't sell all of our notes.
Hmm.
We try to keep some of them. So the ones that we hold that are
Yeah.
profitable for us, we don't want to have to start over either.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Yeah, I've heard of a lot of the guys. They'll get the servicers involved, but it's cool that you keep it in house. A little more profit, a little more control, and I think a lot of people get into owner financing not for not only the financial benefits, but being able to help those homeowners get a house where they traditionally couldn't have. And
Exactly.
I think that's cool.
And
Yeah.
then I mean, we really are service minded when the whole thing comes. And that's one of the things that I found so attractive. I mean, being a former teacher, I mean, I'm service minded. I want to help people and I want to educate them.
Yeah.
It's nice that I can help people get the American dream of home
Yeah.
ownership while I make some money, while they get something they couldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you've been with them, or you've been over with Eric and Stop Flipping for 3 years now? You said.
I've been working about Stop Flipping's been together, which is the education side, for about 2 years now.
Okay.
But I've been working with Eric about 3. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you've been dealing with the owner financing notes since then. At any point, uh, where did Eric get started? Because he obviously thought of the name because at one point he probably flipped, I would assume. And he was like over all that, all over all the contracting, over the raising the money, over all that stuff. So,
yeah, and so like, how did he come up with a name? That was his idea. I really wish I could tell you, but I think it's just
very
pretty
bold.
obvious because Eric, I've done flips. I mean, and I'm not saying we still don't do flips. I mean,
Yeah.
The important thing is like our model is we want to end up owner financing the house, but if we need to flip it, like if the house, like we have multiple exit strategies. Now, I will be honest, we don't do rentals at all, but we will flip
Really?
something. We will
Yeah.
wholesale something. We will owner finance it. We'll wholesale it, which we talk about in our book.
Yep.
We have a lot of different exit strategies, but primarily that's what we want to do. And Stop Flipping was it literally. If I know Eric's first story, the origin story. So there's actually 3 of us. There's me, there's Eric, and then there's Mike Arch. And Mark Arch is in Hawaii right now, so he can't be here either.
Yeah.
So
tough life, huh?
Those two guys they're working on it as a team, and they ended up in 3 houses about the same time, about 2008, when I was having a hard time. Everybody's having a hard time, and they ended up getting stuck with 3 flips. They could not get rid of them, and they just couldn't sell them. And then they came up with the idea of owner financing. They had a guy that his name was Dick Garinger, that gave them the idea of owner financing it out, and they ended up owner financing those 3 houses. And then one thing that just kind of stuck, and they started making sense of it, and they kept doing it. But the funny thing is so many people see flipping houses and they think it's a good idea, and it's not a bad idea, but it is very dangerous when you're getting started. And mitigating that risk, you can do that with owner financing. I say everybody, it's a perfect marriage between rentals and flips, because we're kind of doing a little bit of both. We're creating the cash flow, but we're also creating that initial capital deposit on that flip side of things, because we do sell it beyond what we're into it for. Yeah. So, I tell everybody, stop flipping. The show's called Flip or Flop for a reason, right? It's like, you might be able to flip it. You might just, completely end up losing your shirt on the deal. And the bad news is a lot of new investors think they can go flip a house, and they don't realize how hard it truly is, how much time it truly takes. And, they tend to get fleeced on it. Either that, or they'll see something in a magazine and they'll over rehab the house. They'll have $300,000 into a house that's only worth $250,000.
Yeah, it happens quite frequently, I would guess. They can let their emotions get involved, and they start thinking they're interior decorators, and they make some lavish master bathroom in a $200,000 neighborhood.
And then, that's we do rehab our houses. Don't get us wrong, but our rehabs are very functional, not necessarily aesthetic. We want to make sure that, the foundation's level, the plumbing works, the electricity works. We do repaint everything, but we don't put granite countertops in. We put Formica in. We don't it's just a different kind of rehab. We want to make sure the house is affordable, but also safe and functional. So, which is perfect for me. We don't have color palettes. We have one color palette that we use on all our houses.
No, it's smart. I think everybody eventually evolves into that. They just get all their SKUs in line, and contractors just know exactly where to go, what to get, and how much.
That's it. And so now we've got it down to a system, and we're on pace to pump out 120 houses this year. So,
wow, it's impressive. And so, that made me think another thing. I'll ask you about marketing in a minute, but we just got done talking about the rehabbing. I know some owner finance people or guys, companies that won't rehab or do very minimal rehabs versus owner financing these properties as is. Is there a reason you decided to go with the rehab versus as is model?
Yeah. And it, for lack of sounding, just crappy, it's an ethics thing for us.
Yeah.
I won't say names. I won't say anything like that. But there was one house that we went and looked. I went to go look at. A wholesaler called me, "Hey, go look at this property." And so we go over there and we take a look at the property. And I noticed a sign, for sale, owner finance, right? The house right behind us. And I went over there and I'm like, huh? And I called the number and they said, yeah, the house is for sale for whatever it was, $89,000. And it was about a $90,000 to $100,000 neighborhood. It wasn't real nice, whatever. I was like, okay, that's about in line. And I go over there and I open the door, and the door wouldn't even latch. The door wouldn't latch. I walked through, literally, there is no flooring in half the house. You could see dirt.
Wow.
There was a hole in the kitchen, in the ceiling. It was in shambles. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you sell this at value? And it's an ethics thing for us. If you got to buy that house and there's a hole in the roof and you're paying market price for it, that's not right. And they're probably paying inflated interest rate, because that's how most owner finance deals work. In all fairness, that's how ours work. But like I said, we want safe, affordable housing. We want to be able to sleep at night. We want to know that our people are really well taken care of. And that's just the way we do business.
Yeah, no, it's smart. I think that's the way I would view it when I get into it, because I really like the owner finance model. I just haven't done it yet, but we're talking owner financing.
Come on. Jump in.
Yeah.
You'll get addicted, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. Well, real estate's already pretty addicting, but I get the squirrel thing. I'm like, oh, well, there's this, and then there's that. Because now I'm like, storage units, mobile home parks, renting versus owner finance, apartment buildings. I'm like, man, I can't concentrate on one thing. My mind is always going bonkers over this.
Yeah, and there's, it's important to learn everything. It really is. But there's a chapter in our book about, grandma's apple pie recipe. After a while, she doesn't even have to use the recipe anymore. She just knows how to do it, and her apple pie comes out greater than anybody else's. But
Yeah.
it is important to learn everything. Like I said, we're not saying we don't ever do a flip, but it's nice to have the multiple exit strategy, but stick with what you know, stick with what works for you. And, this creates a lot of cash flow us on the back ends where we're going to be able to retire with these.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, 120 this year. That's crazy. We're on track.
Well, we did the math the other day. It was something like 43 or $44 million in real estate notes that Eric and Mike have created. And I've probably been around for, I'm going to say 3 to 5 of it.
Wow. That's awesome.
Probably more than that.
Owner financing versus rentals. You said you guys have gotten out of rentals, and I know other people's reasons. I guess most of it would be the stress and liability and the headache of property management and all that stuff. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
When you sell somebody a house, you sell it to them. You know what I mean? If the air conditioner breaks 4 years later, that's on them.
Yeah.
Somebody, if their kid flushes a frozen turkey down the toilet, and it's not my problem. That's your problem. You own the house.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons why we do like to rehab it, because we don't want them to have a problem, in the first 2 months of owning the house. But it also allows them to be able to fix up the house and not have to ask for permission. If you want to paint it, you want to do that. A lot of our people, it's the hardworking people of San Antonio. We have a lot of craftsmen out there. And so they're like, hey, we want to add a privacy fence. Knock yourself out. You don't need to ask for permission. And a lot of them have become from a rental mentality. So they'll add room extensions on. They'll paint the house. They'll retile the bathroom. They'll do some cool stuff, and they like to own the house, and we don't have to mess with it.
Yeah, it's the American dream.
There's some cons on the other side of it, but the pros definitely outweigh it. When we don't rent properties, we can't obviously depreciate the properties against our taxes because we don't own them anymore. We don't get to write off the taxes on them because we don't own them anymore. Yeah. But like I said, the backside, the money that we're making on it is definitely the problem that we would rather have.
That was my next one. I get a lot of rental guys that are saying that they don't get to capture the equity or the depreciation on it. But if you're buying right, you're capturing the equity on the buy, and then you just get it out through the life of the loan.
That's it right there.
Yeah. And
then if you're familiar with the amortization curve, I don't know how technical you want to get into this, but the amortization curve is what we call a reverse hockey stick. Yeah. So even after 10 years, if they decide to sell the property, they've been making payments to us for $1,000 a month for 10 years on a $100,000 house, or it's probably $700, $800. Mm-hmm. But at the end of 10 years, they still owe $92,000 because of the natural amortization curve. So if they sell the house, that's why we don't have a prepayment penalty. We've been making $800 a month for the last 10 years, and all of a sudden we're still getting $92,000 for the house, and the San Antonio market's hot. Yeah. So if they sell it, they still owe us $92,000. If they sell it back to us, or whatever the problem might be, the house might be valued at more at this point. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of the rental guys know that, but for some reason or another are more comfortable with the rental, like owning the asset and, having the paper in it. I don't know. I like both models. I steer towards the owner financing model in my mind because of that headache aspect, property management and such.
And there's so many benefits. Like, we don't deal with vacancies. If they want to sell the house on the open market, they can. It's not vacant. We don't have to mess with it. We don't have to rehab the house every 2 to 3 years. You know what I mean? Where they had some kid come in there and, hang 900 posters. We got to go putty all the little bitty holes all over the house and repaint it, refix it. Or we don't have somebody that gets all pissed off and tears our house apart. You know what I mean? Or they have some party and just leave, or they're all of those headaches. Like, even if you hire a property management company, you're still going to end up with a headache somewhere down the line where they're like, they need a capital improvement because they ripped the back half of the house off or whatever. There's always some issue that's going to come up that we just don't deal with. Once we sell the property, we're done, and we get our cash flow off of it. So that's just where we like it. We don't like the headache. We don't like messing with it. We'd rather just rehab, fix it, clean it, sell it, and we're out the.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, that's my mindset. Like I said, I've only been in this like 18 months, and my very first house, I did 85% of the work. I gutted, I took down walls, I did all the flooring. A lot. I built the kitchen, built the bathrooms, everything. And then I was like, man, I did not get into real estate to be doing all this work. And so ever since then, I'm trying to build these systems to get out of it. And so me renting, I'm like, man, that's a lot more work. I'm going to have to either find a really good property management company that I don't know of, or get my own property management company, start building that. And then I'm like, I got to get the trust accounts. I got to do this, that. And so the owner financing model to me is just so appealing because it's somewhat hands off to an
Yeah,
extent.
I mean, it's still the front end, but like I said, if you're looking for a cash flow model, owner finance is there. If you're looking for the capital, the immediate capital appreciation, owner finance is there. So it's literally the best of both worlds. We get both sides of it, and that's why we just love doing it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So in my mind right now, I'm thinking owner financing, you got to be the bank. How are you financing these properties to be able to finance them into these homeowners? Is it your own capital, banks, private money?
Yes.
All that. Okay. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I
So
figured.
with the volume that we do a little bit of everything. So I'm trying to think. So yes, we do have a lot of private investors. We've got somewhere close to $5 or $6 million in private investor money that we use to do things. And so because of that, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. There's a couple of exit strategies once we own the note, and because of the volume that we do, and because we have a lot of overhead. I mean, we've got an office, we've got a staff, we've got a bunch of contractors on staff. There's certain things that we have to do. So like we were talking about earlier, some of the notes we turn around and sell to gain that immediate equity that we've built in the house. We buy a house for 50, we put 25,000 in rehab, we sell it for 100. We just made 25,000. That's the flip mentality, right? So yes, sometimes we do flip because we're flipping that note. We create the note and we sell it to an investor. We get our $25,000 out. That's how we keep the lights on. Doing 10 houses a month. I'll let you do the math there, right? Yeah. So that's how we keep the lights on. Now, we don't sell every single note that we create. The other thing is we want to hold as many notes as we can.
Yeah.
So a lot of times once we've created the note, let's say same example, we're in it for $75,000. We have a couple of banks that we can take that promissory note to and say, hey, look, I've got this note for $100,000. Will you loan me 75 cents on the dollar? Mm-hmm. So we get our initial capital back out, and we have the owner of the house now pay off that note. And we tend to have a 10-year loan from the bank, and they've got a 30-year note. So we capture the whole 20-year back end, which is fantastic for us, right?
Yeah.
That's our retirement plan. And then sometimes we just use our own cash just for straight cash flow. I mean, I bought a house about a month ago in this little bitty town, Bandera, Texas, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, way out in the middle of nowhere. I bought it for $16,000. I put a couple grand into it, and I owner financed it out for $40,000. And that was just my own capital. I mean, $16,000 now I've got, and I owner financed it, I think for 10 years. And so now I've got $500 a month cash flow coming in for the next 10 years, which, letting go of 16 or whatever it was, less than $20,000.
$20,000. Yeah. Yeah. I love that model because that's just where my finances are right now. I can buy a few of those and be happy and still comfortable. And there's a little town I found out east called Coleman. In Coleman, Texas, I found a lot of houses under $10,000 that are worth 30, 40, but nobody wants to put the money into them. So little towns like that, I want to attack.
That was a really unique circumstance because the guy that bought it was an investor as well, and he wanted to flip it, but he didn't have the cash to buy it from me outright. So he owner financed. I have a feeling I'm only going to hold that note for about a year or two before he finally just pays it out. But it'll be fine.
Either way, cash flow. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I got cash flow, and even when he goes to buy the whole thing, I mean, he's still paying me pretty much full price if it's a year or two because of the amortization table.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Marketing. It's a lot of deals. Are you putting out your own marketing, direct call or direct mail, cold calls? But also you mentioned wholesalers. How are you bringing in a lot of these leads?
When we bring in the properties?
Yeah, when you purchase the distressed property.
Yeah. Okay. So, so when we purchase the distressed property, yes to all of that.
Okay.
We do have a team full of sales guys. Okay. We've got 4 salespeople, or 3 guys and a lady. Yeah. So there's 4 salespeople that we have. We've got their heads on a swivel, and they get paid if they find us properties, right? Yeah. So they have magnets on their car. We buy houses. They've got this and that, driving for dollars, all that good old-fashioned wholesaling stuff. If you see a vacant property, let me know. And either we allow them to hunt it down if they want to, or we hunt it down. We don't get upset if they, we ask them like, hey, if you find a property, put it in front of us first. If we don't want it, then go sell it on the open market, go wholesale it. So our sales force actually becomes real estate investors, which is phenomenal. I mean, they're getting really good at it, which is great. So they're making money selling houses for us and that.
Yeah.
Me personally, I do go out there and I do a little bit of wholesaling, like trying to do acquisitions as well.
Yeah.
We've got a fantastic guy named Henry that he's our acquisitions man. We look at the auction. He goes around and deals with all the wholesalers. He's got himself a fantastic reputation here in San Antonio. Like, people know what we're looking for, and if that house comes up, they call Henry. Henry goes and looks at it. We trust him emphatically, and he buys the houses, puts them in front of us. So it's kind of a multifaceted. We're all looking all the time, and it's nice to have. I mean, that's how we've been able to scale to 120 houses a year, because we've got so many people out there looking.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I stress that a lot through my social media is nobody knows what you're doing without putting it out there and building that image and that brand, that top of mind, I guess, campaign or something is beautiful for business owners, especially the longevity of the company. So eventually you can just kind of phase out or phase down your direct mail and immediate sales force.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of direct mail. Just personally, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. We've done a handful of them. They just haven't been as successful as the boots on the ground. And since our guys are out driving around all day, every day, the boots on the ground is just a little bit more efficient for us.
No, yeah, that's cool. I don't want to keep it too long, but I wanted to talk to you about partnerships. So you're one of 3 guys within the stop flipping model, you and Eric, and then you mentioned Mike Arch. Yeah. Mike Arch. Yeah. How do you make it work? How do you not beat each other up all the time?
Well, I didn't say we didn't beat each other up all the time. No, and partnership. It's really funny when I came onto the team and became partners with the guys that Stop Flipping and what we do. We had a lot of very serious conversations, and it's really weird because as you create these things, as you're literally getting lawyers involved, and and we're getting all these things. I mean, it's just one big giant prenup. Like, you meet each other, you get together, you see the synergy, you feel the synergy, but now you're basically writing a prenup, and everybody feels a little bit weird about that. Now, I don't. I feel like a Labrador half the time. I'm like, I don't care, throw the ball, let's go. So it can be weird for some people, and I'm not saying we don't have disagreements. And all 3 of us have very different personality types. I mean, we are really on opposite ends of the spectrum, but we all pull each other towards the middle, which I think is where we get the most of our work done. And we know our strengths and we know our weaknesses. Mike is a incredibly professional, does a great job. He knows the business. He knows it in and out. And Mike deals with our note buyers most of the time. That's what he does. And he's just got a great face for it. He's got a voice. He sounds like he should be a radio host. I mean, he's got a great voice. He's good looking. You know what? You go out there and talk to all the big money guys. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm the educational guy. I'm the one who's the face of, the social media, all that stuff. Eric's a little bit more hard-nosed. Boom, boom, boom. Let's get this done. So he's with all our contractors. He's with, he's the pusher. And, we all push, but he's the one that's like, hey, look, if we need something done now, we send Eric, and he goes and gets it done now. So we just, we all work together well. You just have to make sure that you communicate. I'm a firm believer, and this is something that I pull out, is because I think that 100% of problems are problems of communication.
Yeah.
If anything ever goes wrong, either you didn't understand what the person said or they never said it.
Yep.
And if you're married, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they don't say why they're mad, and you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I talk about that all the time. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm a Labrador. If you do not tell me, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So it's all about communication and getting those open lines of communication. And we are brothers. I mean, sometimes we're yelling, cussing, screaming, hit. I mean, sometimes it does get ugly.
Yeah.
But, and sometimes that's healthy. It's cathartic to get all of that out. And
especially as men. Yeah.
But I mean, we're guys. I mean, I can't tell you how many times Eric and I have been cussing at each other on the phone, and it gets a little hostile. My wife's like, who is that? I'm like, it was Eric. We're good. Yeah.
And then 30 minutes later, you see each other and you're all cool.
Some people can handle it. Some people can't, and so we can handle it. It just depends on who you're dealing with. And that's Eric and I, I'll be honest, we probably get a little bit more heated than Mike and I do, because it's a different relationship. But we all work together. We meet together mandatory once a week. Mm-hmm. That's our entire people, to make sure we're all on the same page, make sure we know where we're at with all our houses. And it's just communication. You just got to talk. We don't ignore each other's texts. We always get back to each other. We always talk, call, wherever it is. It's funny. I mean, Mike's in Hawaii and he keeps texting us. I'm like, stop texting us. And go to my tie. Go. I command you. Yeah. So
that's cool. Yeah. I don't have a formal arrangement with a good buddy of mine, Corey. But it makes traveling a lot easier. And
and we really do recommend very formal arrangements just to make sure you all understand exactly what's going on. Like our business agreement, I mean, it's got a ton of clauses in it, and it's meant to protect everybody involved.
Yeah.
What if I die? Does my wife get a share of the company or not? Does she, does she want a share of it? We got to get all our wives involved in all this. I mean, what if one of us is, gets a felony? I mean, that's one of the clauses in our thing. You know what I mean? If you get a felony, you have permission to be kicked out of the group. I mean, so, because you never know what's going to happen down the road. You want to make sure everybody's protected, and it's not meant to point fingers at anybody. It's meant to protect everybody that's in there.
No. Yeah. Mutual agreement, one goal in mind, and it's supposed to work that way.
Right. Exactly. You just can't take it personal. It's not meant to attack. It's like a prenup. It's like anything else. It's just, it's lawyerese.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with notes and owner finance, we will probably talk for 6 months straight and never talk about the same thing, but, I won't keep you too long. The question I always ask everybody though, is, if you only have 6 months to live, what would you do with those 6 months? Oh,
that's a great question. I would travel a lot. Mm-hmm. I love traveling. Yeah. I haven't been east, so that'd probably be the first stop on the thing. I'd go hit Australia, the Orient, all that kind of stuff. And my wife and I, my kids, we love to travel. We travel every opportunity we get. So I think that would be it. I'd just go catch as much beauty in the world as I could.
That's perfect. That's what I would do. Yeah. I just made a post about that this morning. I've been on this kick. I mean, my whole life, I'm just like, man, there's gotta be a reason I'm here. And it wasn't meant for me to live to work. It was for me to work to live. And exactly. Travel is top of mind right now. There's just too much on this earth to miss. And
we've I found it on Groupon. I thought it was the coolest thing. It's a world map with little magnetic pins, you put all over it. And then we bought the 1,000 things to see before you die. And so just doing everything we can to check every one of those off.
That's awesome. Oh, hold on. Yeah. You said Groupon?
Yeah, it was on Groupon. The map was on Groupon. It's not, but I think it's really cool. And we got a kind of a big hallway in our entryway, and it's on one wall of it is the centerpiece of it.
Yeah, and it's magnetic. You said?
I can't remember where it came from, but and then what we do is whenever we travel somewhere, we take a picture. Yeah. So we were in Atlantis, so we took a picture in front of the big fancy hotel, and there's pictures of all the places that we've traveled to with a map in the middle of it, so people. And then there's different colored pins. The yellow pins are our goals, like where we're trying to get to next. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
I got to find that map. That's awesome. Yeah, because we were thinking, all right, do we get a giant world map and just put little pin flags? But I love the picture idea because we do the magnets and put it on our refrigerator forever where we go.
Yeah. So our entry wall is a big collage. Yeah. And it's a little narcissistic because it's all me and my wife.
Yeah. But it's that's awesome though. Yeah.
But the backgrounds are what makes it cool. It's like what's behind us. There's a picture, like when we were in Gibraltar, there's a picture of me and a monkey, and so there's a lot of fun pictures, but
yeah, it's motivation to keep going and keep doing what you're doing, to keep doing what you want to do.
Every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Collin, I appreciate you coming on. I want to be able to link ways to get a hold of you guys if people want to discuss the stop flipping or anything related to that.
Yeah, come check us out, man. Stopflipping.com and stop flipping everything else. So Instagram at stop flipping, Facebook.com/stopflipping. The only one that's weird is our Twitter, which we don't use a whole lot anyways because, type good. Yeah. But that's stop_flipping. There's some terrible rapper out of, I don't know, somewhere east of here that has the stop flipping one that we missed out on. But yeah, so check us out. And then, we give away a ton of freebies. We love answering questions. We love doing it. Say hello to my dog.
Yeah, it's a big old dog back there.
Yeah, it's Archer. He's a 165-pound Great Dane, but he gets in my business a lot.
Yeah.
But check us out. We give away a lot of free content. One of the first things that I always tell everybody, if you have a question, you can email us at thecrew@stopflipping.com. Mm-hmm. One of the first things I tell everybody is you got to learn how to use a financial calculator, and we give away a free financial calculator course. So people can learn how to do that, because being able to calculate interest rates, being able to calculate payments is very crucial, especially in the owner finance world. Yeah. And so we teach a ton of free stuff. Follow us on YouTube. That's my favorite one. We have something called Project Stop Flipping, where we literally just I get something in my head and that's what I'm going to go do. So we just finished up a series where it's like buying a $50 house, which is essentially wholesaling. And I literally just carry the camera around with me just while I pull my shenanigans. And
no, that's awesome.
And whatever it might be. I think the next one we're going to do is we just did the $50 house, and I wanted to the auction. So we're going to go work the auction. There's an auction coming up here. It's first Tuesday of every month. Yeah. So it's August 7th. And so we're going to be filming, getting ready for the auction, exactly what we do, what we look for, and how we go about doing it.
Awesome. And where can we find that financial calculator at?
It's
Is it on
on our website. So stopflipping.com. I'd have to look exactly where it is. You poke around, it's somewhere on there.
Coaching, of course.
Or if anybody emails me, I'll be happy to just send it over to them.
Yeah.
The crew at stopflipping.com.
I'll have to dig around your site. I've been on it all morning. I didn't ever run across it, but cool. I'll link those in the show notes below. And I appreciate you coming on, man. It was perfect. It was awesome.
No, absolutely. I had a great time. And it's off to Top Golf now.
Yeah, perfect. Have fun with that. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks.